Hello! Over the years, I've pretty much bought everything in the Kuretake Gansai Tambi range, and I have a very motley collection, so many boxes, and they're just all over the place. I'm getting a bit fed up with them because they're just a mess, and I really wanted to find a decent storage solution that would accommodate all of my paint sets that I have here. Well, I found something, and it's going to fit everything into it. I'm so excited. I'll show you what I mean, so let's get into it! For a while there, you could buy this set of 100 Kuretake paints, which is most of their sets, but since then they've released more, and I don't know that you could still get this one anyway. Since then, they've released a set of 6 Sumi colours, and also a set of 5 granulating colours. And now I've just discovered they have this set of 24 metallics, which I think is a brand new set as well. I do not have this box, and I'm probably not going to buy it because I think a lot of the metallics are in previous sets that I already own. I'll have to do some more research on that. But a while ago, I swatched out 100 Gansai Tambi colours, which was all of them at the time, and I'll link that video at the end of this one if you want to watch that swatching session. But it's a bit out of date now because I also have this set of granulating colours with that empty pan that still annoys me to this day, and I also bought the Sumi colours, so I haven't swatched these on that sheet. I have a separate video for these two which I'll link as well. But I decided there had to be a better way to store all of these paints because they're just driving me crazy in all these different boxes. And during my time collecting these, I started out with smaller sets and then upgraded to larger ones, like this 48 one. The 36 set that I originally had, I've actually given to my dad and he's been using that, so that's quite nice. But I've seen a few storage idea videos for these, and someone had mentioned Daiso, so I thought I'd go check them out. And I actually found a couple of different possibilities. One are these shallow white trays. I ended up just buying one, but they're actually stackable, and I was thinking this could possibly work. Because yes, the pans do go in there, but unfortunately they are rounded and there's so much wasted space. Plus the plastic's very slick and so they would need to be glued down, otherwise they're just going to fall out immediately. Each one of these trays will take 20 Gansai Tambi pans, so this was definitely a possibility. But I found something even better. Here's the next lot that I found in the kitchen section. They're little serving trays to put a coffee cup on, and they have a grippy rubber surface to them so that things don't slide around on them as easily. They stack beautifully as well. I bought a whole bunch here, 6 of them, and I just thought that this would be a better option for the pans because I can fit more into these ones than the white one that I showed earlier, 25 pans to be exact. And they're also a bit narrower, so they're not going to be as bulky when you stack them together. And because they have a nice right angle corner, those pans will fit in there snugly. Now, this is great, except for the fact that the stacking part of the box is on the inside, and this does cause a bit of problem. They have to come out just slightly from the edge, and they do still move around. But they do grip fairly well, much more than slick plastic. I actually saw some of these trays without that rubber on there as well, so you may see those. Now when I put them this way, I could only fit 24, but if I put them sideways the other way, it will fit 25, and that's the way I decided to go. And now I have to peel off all of these labels. What fun! I'll just show you what it looks like once I've peeled that label off. So it's just a plain black tray. It's quite shiny, as you can see. And here they are once I've peeled off all of the stickers, and now I'm ready to start organising my paints. And I was going to swatch everything in my swatch book, but that's not actually going to happen in this video. You'll see what I do instead because I did make another swatch chart for these. But now I need to figure out what order do I want these paints. It's going to be different to this yet again because I had to change my mind. Also to accommodate only 25 colours per tray. And I dithered over this for a very long time. I eventually decided I was going to combine the 2 green boxes and then I'll put the smaller sets together later. But let's start with the big ones first. This box here is the Art Nouveau set which they released a few years ago. All of these were new colours and aren't in the 48 set. So the 2 sets together makes up 72 of the colours. And here is the standard 48 set, which also comes in smaller sets of 36, 24 and 12. And the really great thing is you can buy all of these as single colours, which is really fantastic if you run out of a colour or you want to make up your own palette with a select number of colours. That pan in the top right corner was one they released individually called Gofun White, which is made of crushed oyster shells. Such a random one. But here's what they look like in the trays. I changed the colour order entirely and I've set them up in colour groups. I have one tray with 25 and then the others have a bit less, or they're changed around a little bit. I filled 3 of the 6 trays with these 2 sets, and these 3 shiny ones actually come in the 48 set, so I decided to keep those together with this set rather than adding them to the metallic tray that I'm going to do a bit later. But so far these are stacking really well, and I've also decided to keep one of the trays as a lid because I really don't want the paints exposed to dust and muck. So one tray I'm sacrificing as the lid, and I was really hoping I could fit all of the rest of the small sets onto those 2 trays. Let's see how I went. It actually worked out well. I decided to put the graphites, sumi and granulating paints into one tray, and then I would put all of the others together as they're all shiny, metallics, opals, gems and pearlescent colours. And here's what they look like once I had organised them all with some spare ones down there, and then I've got those other sumi and graphite ones over there. The trays aren't full, so there's a bit of room to grow there. Once I've stacked them all together, here's what everything looks like. I'd put that white tray on the top thinking I might use it as a mixing tray, but I may have a better idea which I'll talk about. But look at all these boxes just all over my desk, more up here, swatches and boxes everywhere, and I really don't want to throw the boxes out, so I am going to store them in case I want to use them again in the future. For now they're all stacked on this little shelving unit, and it's emptied a lot of space in my watercolour unit where they were. Now I can fit my Paul Rubens boxes in there because I had nowhere to store these, so now I'm actually able to put all of my Paul Rubens paints together. I've got the tubes and those giant pans, maybe another couple coming at some point. Now here's a funny thing, I do have another little Kuretake set. It's this one which I bought years and years ago. I decided just to keep this one in the box because the box is really pretty and it also has a pen and water brush. I'll keep this box as is. Now it's time to label everything. Who's Rebecca? Because I knew I'm never going to remember which coloured paints are in which tray, so I definitely have to label them, and any excuse to use my label maker is a good one. I love this thing so much. It's really satisfying printing out labels, and I usually print a bunch together because it always leaves a gap at the start where nothing's printed on the label, and those label tapes are really expensive, so I try to fit on as many words as possible and then I just cut them up afterwards. This is sticker tape, so you peel off the backing and stick it onto the surface. I found out that my label tape is a bit wide, so I did have to trim them down quite a lot to make them fit because the trays are quite skinny and I didn't want any label to be hanging over the edges of them. So hopefully there's a Daiso where you are, because on their website you can't really order things, you have to actually go in store, but Daiso is a Japanese company that has opened up stores in at least 25 countries now, so it's becoming more and more widespread. I'll link their site in the description below so you can see if there are any shops near you. Otherwise, maybe a different Asian style store would have something. But here's what I've ended up with. The labels managed to fit on there eventually, and I'm super happy with these trays. I think it's such a great solution. And once again, I was trying out that other white tray because I'd bought it and I was wondering what I was going to do with it. But I've actually had another idea, so I returned to Daiso and bought 3 more. You can see how well these stack together. These ones are really good. So this is definitely an alternative solution, and I thought I'd put some of the Gansai Tambi pans in so you can see what it looks like. There's 20 in here, so this is definitely a feasible option as well. I actually quite like these now I'm looking at them, but I wasn't about to change my mind and move my Gansai Tambis into here because I'd need to buy a whole load more trays than what I have here. But wait! These trays also hold an absolute motherload of half pans. I didn't even have enough to fit in here. By my calculations, around 80 half pans per tray. This is a rabbit hole for another video, and I'm going to deal with the swatch book another time, I think, because I wanted to keep individual sheets with the box. Now, I had this watercolour pad from Pandamart that I bought and didn't end up using. This is going to be perfect for today's swatching session, and I'd get to use up some of this paper. I think this cost about $2, but the paper's actually really good. After a lot of faffing about, I have 5 sheets for 5 trays, and I'll be keeping these with the box so that I can refer to them easily. I will paint them into my swatch book as well, but I just felt like I wanted to do this today rather than going into the swatch book. It's not like I haven't swatched them before a few times. I made a mistake there, that is so annoying. Let me find my white pen and see if I can cover that up a little bit. The black squares are for the metallic ones because it's really hard to see them on white sometimes. And you know I can't do this video without swatching them once more, so let's do that really quickly. Now, I'm not going to go through every single colour here, but you could probably see those written clearly enough, I hope. And I was just painting in every second one so that I could avoid having colours running into each other, let those ones dry a bit and then paint in the others. I put them into a colour order that I thought would be as logical as possible. And of course, there are some colours that kind of defy going next to other ones, like they stand out on their own without being in a nice colour gradient. So there are a few which look a bit out of place, but it's just the way it is. I think I got them pretty close with each other. I never know where to put browns, whether they should go in next to oranges and yellows, or if I should put them after greens. I had spent quite a lot of time counting out colours and putting things together to see which would go as a set of 25 in one tray, and this is how I came up with the groupings. And I really like having the Art Nouveau set combined with the original 48 set, because in the Art Nouveau one there are quite a lot of muted pastel-y colours that just go so well with the bright ones, and together they make a really awesome palette. So if you were to get any of the Kuretake sets and you weren't sure which ones, I would recommend the 48 and the Art Nouveau set together. That makes up a really strong and varied palette of 72 colours, with a couple of metallics in there. There's the white gold, the blue gold, and the regular gold. And then of course they have all of the other smaller sets, which are also great, but they are a little more specific, like you have the metallics and pearlescent colours, and then you've got the Sumi inky ones, and the graphites, and also those just random granulating colours. I have no idea if they're going to release more of those, but it's probably the weakest set. I'm just going to argue that. I know some people really love the granulating ones, but for me, I just wasn't that keen on them. Although I have learned from all of your comments in the previous video I did about the granulating ones that yes, they do need a lot more water than I was using, and you'll see that demonstrated shortly on this page. The Sumis and graphites all mostly look black on here. That's because I did paint them on quite thickly. But these granulating ones, I added water first, and then I'm just trying to add a small amount of paint so that they will granulate properly. And then I'll come back and finish off these Sumi and graphite ones. These ones are coloured as well, and when you add more water you can really see that. I'll show them all once they're dry, but here's the last page, and I decided to combine all of the pearlescent and metallic sets because I wanted them by colour rather than by type. All of these sets have 6 colours and I can only fit 5 per row, so I figured this would be a good way to not break up one colour out of each set and just have them all together. I also didn't paint in the repeating colours, I just have one of each that I've got on these swatch cards. And hopefully this gives you inspiration if you want to reorganise all of your Kuretake paints. Here they are when they're dried. That Gofun white could have gone on the whites page, but it's actually a slightly beige colour. I don't really like it, to be honest. It's not very useful, but I've got it anyway because I must have them all. But otherwise I'm really happy with how the colours are arranged now. And those trays are much easier to fit on my desk than that really large green box. So it's much more convenient, and it's just really easy to stack them and unstack them. I've kept my pans loose because I often will pick out a few colours to work with at a time, and I can still do that. I really wish I'd switched around Cobalt Violet and Imperial Violet though. They're not quite in the right order. Oh well, too bad because I'm not doing it again. And here are the rest of the ones in the 2 main sets, with those 3 metallics down in the bottom right corner there. The metallics are really good. Just remember to spray them with water and let them sit for a while because they do need time to activate properly. Otherwise you won't be able to lift any of the paint off at all. Here are all the shiny ones together, and I think they look really great mixed together by colour, and it's so good to have them all on one tray rather than all of those tiny little boxes. It really was quite a hassle to find the right box of colours that I wanted, or having to pull individual colours out of each box. What a pain. And last up are the more muted colours, the sumis and the graphites. You can see there's a bit of colour showing through now that they're fully dry, and these are really great for sketching with. I like these sets as well. It's good to have them all together. And then I've got these granulating ones which kind of don't really go anywhere else, and you can see they are splitting out a lot more easily now that I've added heaps of water instead of just a little bit. So I do need to revisit those and try painting with them some more. Let me know what you think of the order I've put these paints in. But there is one last thing I must do. I just had to get my laminator out. I want to cover those swatch cards so that they're waterproof and will last a bit longer than just plain paper on its own. So here we go, the most exciting part, putting it in the laminator and really hoping I'm not going to buckle it up. Once it gets going it's fine, but just making sure everything is nice and flat is quite difficult to begin with. And I hadn't used my laminator in a while, but I always find it really satisfying. It's almost as good as the label maker. I annoyingly couldn't quite fit 2 sheets to one pouch, so I'm just doing 1 sheet per pouch, but so I don't waste the rest of it, I thought I would laminate my bookmarks. Remember those from a previous video? I had 5 of those, so I figured 1 per laminating pouch would be good. And I'll just speed this up so we're not here all day long. But this was such a fun project. I'm really glad I found a good solution for the Kuretake paints. I knew there had to be something out there somewhere which would work for me, and I'd say this has been a resounding success. Except for the fact that I forgot to sign or paint the back of the stupid bookmark. I wasn't going to do that today. So I didn't laminate the other ones, but it looks like it will work out well once I've done something with the back of them. I ended up laminating some of my other artworks that I'd actually signed, and I've got just in a loose folder. I have no idea what to do with these, but it was a bit of fun, and the laminator worked well over watercolours. I don't know that I would do this with all of my artworks, but it's something else I might consider in the future. Just a few test samples there. Let's move those out the way and show you all of the lovely swatches that I've laminated. These have worked out so well and I'm really happy with them. Let's not talk about the empty spaces that I might have forgotten about. I suppose I can always redo a sheet if I need to, but I wanted to keep them all together, so I'm just punching a hole in each one, and then I have something I can attach them with. And I was trying my hardest to line them up with each other so that the holes are pretty much in the same place. They were too thick to hole punch them all together, so I had to do one at a time, and they're not perfect, but they're close enough. And I have the perfect item to clip them all together. And would you believe these are also from Daiso? I bought these ages ago because I knew I would find a use for them eventually. They're binder rings which you pull apart like this and then clip back together. They come in various sizes and they're super handy for bookbinding if you want to make your own sketchbooks, things like that. Also to put these cards together if I can ever get them. They were so slippy and I was finding it really hard to hold them. But eventually I got them threaded through, and once I've got the binder ring together, now they're all in one place for me to lose the whole lot together. But here is how I shall be storing my Kuretake Gansai Tambi pans from now on, with the swatch pages on top of the lid here. I spent an entire day doing this entire project. It was really fun. I had a great time. I even have a place to store them on top of some other drawer units here, and this is right next to my filming desk, so they're very handy. Confession time, I went back and bought 4 more to make it up to 10. If Kuretake release more paints, then I can expand into them, and I thought it would be better to buy them now rather than later on and them not be there anymore. I'm thinking ahead on that one, but that's the storage solution that I've come up with. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Is it a good idea, and will you look around for something like this for your Kuretake paints? And let me know if you have an even better system. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this was helpful. As always, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up, and don't forget to click subscribe for more videos. Here's the big swatching session I did, and the newer sets that weren't in that. I'll see you all again in my next video. Happy painting. Swatch you later. Bye.